The New Jersey Senate just approved a budget that's raising eyebrows statewide, mainly due to the proposed tax hikes. Senator Carter, can you walk us through what exactly changed in this year's budget?
Absolutely. The 2024 budget increases taxes on both high-income earners and certain businesses. For example, the top marginal income tax rate is up by 1%, and corporate surcharges are back for large firms, all to address a $2 billion deficit.
That's a hefty sum. But beyond shoring up state finances, what are the main goals driving these increases?
The administration argues it's about protecting essential services, public schools, transportation, and healthcare, while also funding pension obligations that have been underfunded for decades.
Let's dig into the details. Who's actually footing the bill for these new taxes? Is it just the so-called one-percenters, or is everyone feeling the pinch?
Well, high-income households, those earning over $1 million, face direct rate increases. But there's a ripple effect. Business owners may pass along higher costs to consumers, and some sin taxes, like on vaping, impact average residents too.
So, even folks who aren't millionaires might see price hikes at the store or changes to their paychecks. Are there any safeguards for low and middle-income families?
Yes, the budget expands property tax relief for seniors and renters. Plus, the Earned Income Tax Credit is getting a bump, which should help offset some increased costs for working families.
Affordability has been a hot topic, especially with NJ's high cost of living. How does this budget attempt to strike a balance between raising revenue and keeping NJ livable?
It's a tightrope walk. The argument is, without new revenue, we'd see cuts to schools, transit, or Medicaid. But there's always a risk that higher taxes will drive out residents or businesses, which is a big concern for local chambers of commerce.
That's the classic push-pull, right? Provide services or keep taxes low? Is there any evidence from past budgets about which approach works best in New Jersey?
Historically, deep service cuts have led to backlash. For instance, the 2010 budget slashed education funding and test scores dipped. But on the flip side, tax hikes in 2018 didn't lead to the predicted exodus of wealthier residents, so the jury's still out.
Of course, no budget passes without political drama. The votes fallout has been intense, with party lines drawn sharply. What are both sides saying?
Democrats say these hikes are necessary for a fairer, more stable New Jersey. Republicans argue it's a recipe for driving families and small businesses out. It's become a proxy battle over the state's economic philosophy.
So, this isn't just about numbers, it's about what kind of state NJ wants to be. Any chance for bipartisan compromise, or is the divide widening?
There are whispers of common ground on targeted relief for small businesses, but overall, the rhetoric has been heated. With elections looming, neither side wants to blink first.
Businesses are sounding alarms, especially with the corporate surcharges. How are NJ companies responding, and could this impact jobs?
Chambers of Commerce warn that higher taxes could deter investment or prompt relocations to neighboring states like Pennsylvania. A 2023 Rutgers survey found 34% of NJ business owners considered moving due to tax policy.
That's significant. Are there safeguards in place to help small businesses, or is the pain spread evenly?
The surcharges primarily hit large corporations. Small businesses get expanded relief grants, but many still worry about indirect impacts, like increased supplier costs or reduced consumer spending.
Moving to Main Street, what are everyday New Jerseyans saying? I've seen both protests and rallies. Any prevailing mood you're seeing?
It's a mixed bag. Some residents are protesting outside the State House, calling for no new taxes. Others, especially in education and healthcare, are voicing support, grateful for preserved funding. A recent poll shows the state split almost 50-50.
So there's no clear consensus, just a lot of passion on both sides. Are there any organized efforts to overturn or amend the budget?
A few grassroots groups are pushing for a ballot measure, but it's a long shot. Most advocacy is focused on influencing next year's budget priorities.
Let's zoom out for a second. How does NJ's approach compare to neighboring states like New York or Pennsylvania? Are they following similar playbooks?
Actually, New York raised taxes on millionaires last year, but paired it with large infrastructure investments. Pennsylvania, meanwhile, kept rates low but slashed spending. Each state faces the same affordability puzzle, but the solutions vary widely.
Is there any indication that one method works better than the others?
Early data suggests states maintaining strong public services tend to rebound faster from downturns, but migration patterns haven't shifted as dramatically as pundits expected. It's a complex, ongoing experiment.
Looking down the road, are these tax hikes temporary, or are we witnessing a permanent shift in NJ's fiscal strategy?
Officially, some surcharges are sunset provisions set to expire after 3 years. But, as history shows, temporary taxes often stick around, especially if budget pressures persist. Think of the 2002 temporary sales tax hike that became permanent.
So, the odds are these changes could outlast the current crisis. Any chance the added revenue will finally solve NJ's chronic budget woes?
It'll help, but unless spending is reined in or the economy booms, new gaps can always emerge. It's like patching a leaky roof. You fix one hole and another opens up.
Let's play devil's advocate. If the legislature suddenly reversed these tax hikes, what might happen to state services and the broader economy?
Well, without that revenue, we'd likely see immediate cuts to education, transit, or police. The state could also borrow more, but that risks a credit downgrade, rising future costs for everyone.
Couldn't they just trim some fat from the budget instead of raising taxes?
In theory, yes, but most spending is already earmarked for essentials or contractual obligations. The waste often cited is less than 3% of the total budget, so cuts would be painful and visible.
As we close, what should listeners watch for as this budget takes effect? Could voter backlash reshape the next round of budget talks?
Absolutely. With elections next year, lawmakers are closely tracking public reaction. If discontent grows, we could see tax rollbacks or new spending priorities. Voters have more leverage than they might think.
So, it sounds like the story's far from over. Senator Carter, thanks for shedding light on the twists and turns of NJ's budget saga.
My pleasure. Remember, budgets aren't just about numbers, they're about values, and every resident has a stake in the outcome.